This podcast is rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Some material may not be suitable for children.
Mission 250.
Welcome to a bonus episode of the Mission 250 Filmcast, where we typically watch the best movies ever made. Sometimes we get bored of that. And this week is one of those times.
And decide to watch some of the best movies ever made.
Yes. Which is now the 56th best movie ever made. I think that's what it was last week. I don't know what it is right now. We're going to watch this week Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spideyverse. Was it Spideyverse? I think it was.
I keep saying Spideyverse, but I think it might be Spider-Verse.
Yeah, it's Spider-Verse.
It's Spider-Verse.
This movie has three directors, Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, Rodney Rothman. The synopsis is, teen Miles Morales becomes Spider-Man of his reality, crossing his path with five counterparts from other dimensions to stop a threat for all realities.
Okay.
And TC, I believe it is your turn to go first. Why did we watch this movie? Do you have any idea?
Well, for one, it's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a good take on Spider-Man, I have to say.
Yeah, and you're a fan of Spider-Man, right?
Yeah,
I do. I love
you're
Spider-Man.
a Spider fan?
Yeah, I am. It was my first comic book hero growing up that I was really into, besides like Tintin, which is a normal person. So this is the first fantastical type of hero that was definitely into it when I was a kid. Yeah, I thought this one was just it's the second time seeing it for this, so it was good. I really have no gripes. It's fast paced. It's got great music. The characters are all lovable. Even the ones that suck are still lovable.
Like who?
I like Doc Ock.
Oh yeah,
she's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You know, she's a crazy scientist.
It's like how snarky she is.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, it's so nice to see you again. She's always coming in with this edge to her. So she's good. I mean, everything about the animation is really good too. I mean, it's really lifelike. So
it's crazy how weird it is, but it still looks real all the time.
Right. I know it's got its own little style, but it really does look good. I mean, just like the depth, everything nothing looks flat, right? It's like really good depth of field on all the shots. So it's like real life almost, except it's clearly animation. So the colors are really cool too. They just didn't, it's just so colorful. Everything is colorful. There's, nothing's drab and dreary. Even when Noir's in the shots, it's still somehow colorful around him. So
yeah, everything feels there seems to be just everything is like carefully put together. So it's even, and it shifts a lot too, and they'll try it. It's like different styles with different characters, and it's just great.
They were talking about too in the commentary how they were surprised, like they were watching it. They're like, I don't even know how we got away with all of this. Like this is crazy what we did here, just in terms of the colors.
I mean, if you think about it too, you got how many? You got three directors. You've got a bunch of writers. No, there's only one writer, right?
No, there's multiple writers.
Yeah, they had multiple screenwriters. You have a movie with. Usually it's always bad sign when there's more than one villain in the movie, let alone more than one superhero. My God, that just seems like, that's when the franchise starts to go off the rails, in terms of...
What about Loki and Thanos and all the good guys in the Avengers?
Yeah. I know, it works. But you built up to that too, and they each had their own separate freaking movie,
that's
at least
true.
one or two or three, so you sort of that itself is its own amazing undertaking. And they're threading it all in. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And, the storyline of the multiple dimensions, it fits perfectly for the multiple superheroes. So, I like this one a lot. It's just an easy watch, too. I mean, you can be pretty much anybody and enjoy it. I would imagine this is for all ages, really, because there's not too many vulgar things in there. It's
rated PG.
It's pretty tame.
People die, but the action, the deaths are handled sort of off screen. My daughter watched it.
Oh, really?
We rented it last week, and she was watching it, and she wanted to watch it again immediately afterwards. And
she wasn't freaked out when Kingpin smashed Spider-Man with one punch to the chest?
No, I know, right?
Because they don't show it. They just show him, they don't show, the impact.
Okay.
Right.
So
you could think they're just smashing a table or something.
Yeah,
okay.
Really, so you don't see, even when, I forget what the uncle's, name is, his bad guy character name is. Prowler, when Prowler gets shot too, you just don't see that exactly happening. You know exactly that's what's happened, but they don't show you the actual violence.
So if you're young enough, you can't like make that leap or something.
Yeah, you just know something bad probably happened, but you don't really see it. It's not dwelt upon. It's just handled very, very sort of like off screen, even though it feels like there's a lot of action there too, for sure. It has a lot of impact.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, she liked it. She was not disturbed at all. I thought she would be because Prowler's theme song was pretty frightening.
The freaking elephant noises.
Yeah.
That one
cool,
scene
though.
where he's like sneaking into the house is pretty horror movie like.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he puts
good.
the claws under the window.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I mean, it's just it's all around. I mean, like I said, all the characters are really, really good. Even old Peter Parker. I love the pizza scene where he's just like, I was sitting there, I was working out, getting ripped, getting set up. He's just like eating pizza. It's like,
I thought that was done
well.
so well.
I was like, that was my Sunday.
I like it how when the portal opens up and he's still trying to get a bite of pizza in.
He's still trying to get
like
pizza in.
He's like, no,
He's like, come on, get in my mouth.
Come on, I need one more bite.
It's gonna be tiring flying through dimensions. I gotta get all the calories I can get.
They definitely make Peter seem like loves to eat. Because they did that with the cheeseburgers in the scene with Miles too.
Yeah.
Oh, that was another great scene. Yeah, we got to go now, and then they're switched to cut to the cheeseburger eating.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is so good. There was another little nugget that I liked that they threw in there when someone was like, I think that's a Banksy. Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's the art, or it looked like art, even
You know
though
who
it's like
says
another
that?
dimension.
You know whose voice that is?
Who?
Post Malone.
Oh, really? Who's that?
He's the guy.
Oh,
So that song, the kid. So he's like. He broke the record. I don't really know who he is either because I'm out of touch and old. But he has a record that broke Thriller's record for the longest like R&B record on the top 10 R&B records.
Oh.
It was like a
he's
large
got a
number
bunch of
weeks.
face tats. Jesus.
Yeah, he's very famous, and it's also the song that Miles sings to like relax
at the very
himself.
beginning.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's a Post Malone.
Now that
song.
was an original
to go
song
get
for the
the
film,
face
right?
tats.
No, it's a Post Malone song.
No. Oh, okay.
That's off. I mean, this is what I read about this movie, so I assume it's
I'm
right.
really not with it either. I'm getting older and older by the second.
Yeah,
Huh?
I was
never heard
surprised
this
at how
guy.
like modern the soundtrack seemed. There's like a bunch of songs I never heard before, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty freaking good."
Yeah.
I could listen to some of this stuff.
Yeah,
he'll be broke before you
agree.
know it. He's only worth $14 million at the moment. Jeez,
Oof.
bunch of face tats.
Is
How you
that-
gonna get a job? And you see, this is how old I'm getting. You're not gonna work with that face.
You don't think you can live off 14 million?
I'm sure he can. Yeah, I mean, I didn't look into the soundtrack at all, so it's all relatively contemporary, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, he wrote it
is
for
on it, yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I thought he
Ah.
did. Yeah, they said it was an original song.
Oh, I just figured since he had, best-selling record that it was on that, but apparently not.
That's kind of
Pretty
cool.
funny. I thought it was that MIA song, Paper
No,
Planes.
that's probably how that's probably how he's always going to stay rich. You get into the movies like that, you get residuals.
Keep on getting a little bit from all those rentals.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
John, what do you think of this one? Kind of already
I
described
loved
it a bit.
I loved it too. I think this one is also. I think it's probably my favorite comic book movie ever. Just because it's so rewatchable. Like because we actually did watch it again that day when we were into it, and
That's funny.
and then like I think we put it on the day after.
Damn.
And
She really wanted to watch it again, huh?
well, it's beautiful. I mean, so the process by which they did this, like it was a combination of both like computer and hand drawing and painting. So they really like were like blending all of these all these forms of media, and that's why I mean the look was really crafted. Like they really just were doing everything they could to get the kind of sort of like comic book meets real life look that they were going for, and it's just there's so many like amazing scenes just that are just visually just very well crafted and very beautiful to look at, let alone all the action and stuff like that that's going on too. But yeah, even and the action sequences are great, which normally I don't tend to like the action sequences that much.
Maybe because they're just not that good, John. Maybe that's all it is.
Maybe I mean, but the ending one I can complain goes on too long. But whatever.
What?
But there's like it's a relative complaint. But like the sequence where they're in the graveyard and he's like running from the police. I thought that was a really cool action sequence.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
the
hilarious
train.
too.
Funny. Yeah. I just thought
Just
the
like
whole
pushing
thing,
Peter Parker's face into the pavement.
Yeah. Yeah. And the ending is so great where they're just lying there and people aren't even going to step around him.
Yeah,
Like,
thanks, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a great way to end that sequence. But there's a number of great action sequences, like the Prowler chases, and I mean, it's just all so well done and orchestrated so well that I don't know. The music, as you guys said, the music's really good. It feels very modern, and that's also really cool. It feels like this is really a fresh take on it. I don't know. I think some of the other things that happen is you have really good characters that also die. Like you got the first Spider-Man that dies, and Chris Pine does a great job of being.
That's Chris Pine?
I thought, yeah.
Oh.
And he does a really good
Wait,
job.
there's different voices for the two different Spider-Mans?
Yeah. Peter B. Parker is a different guy.
Oh.
Yeah. Interesting.
Weird.
Look at John on the trivia. It's because you watched it 8 times.
Probably. But Chris Pine is great. And you could think like also sort of like after Deadpool, like you try to introduce this kind of humor and it's just going to seem like people are ripping off Deadpool, but it doesn't feel that way at all. Because it takes itself seriously enough at the same time, more so.
And it's not dirty.
Yeah, there's that, right? But I think like Chris Pine's Spider-Man was really likable, and he dies, and it's done so well that it's bad that he dies, but it feels like it makes sense in the way the whole movie fits together. And the same thing with his uncle, when Prowler is shot, that whole sequence, and then Prowler's relationship with his dad, as their brothers that are estranged, and Miles' relationship with his dad, and how they're like struggling, and where you have this like really funny moment at the beginning where he's like, "Say I love you." Seriously,
yeah, that's
Dad.
great. I know. That's so cute.
Really funny.
Say it.
Right. But then that moment, that funny part also then is really important when he comes back later and tries to really talk honestly and says, "You don't have to say it back," and as it's a change for the dad, and just tying.
John
all that
has
together.
seen this a lot, huh? Jam,
No,
you're really connecting
Sorry.
things I don't even see. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's good.
It's I think again, this movie is so well crafted. Like they're really calling back stuff, and things are set up, at times for comedic or for some drama, but it's all like just fits together so nicely. I just am very impressed with it. I really, I think that it's impressive to pull this off when you have so many characters, and it's not a very long movie, relatively speaking, and it still pulls it off. I mean, I think that the ones that are introduced, like Spider-Gwen, sort of in order. Like Spider-Gwen doesn't get as much time, but she's still a very good character. And then the noir guy and Spider-Pig and the girl with the robot, they really don't get very much time. So you don't.
Nicolas Cage is good for what, like 30 lines?
Yeah, and it's fine.
Well, he's like, look, I can only do 30. Okay,
that's right. Look.
How dare you insult Nicolas Cage?
I knew, and then I was sitting there and I'm like, this is why Denny loves this movie. I bet you, just because noir is there.
Well, I mean, there's the what's his name, the Porker or whatever. The fuck's that guy's name?
Spider-Ham.
Yeah, but what's the actor's name?
Peter Porker is his name.
I thought it sounded like Mulaney, but it was.
Yeah, it is Mulaney.
It's John Mulaney.
Oh, is it Mulaney?
Yeah,
okay.
It is Mulaney. Yeah.
I was bitten
sounds
by
like
a
the guy that-
radioactive pig.
It sounds like it could be the guy from The Birdcage. Remember that movie?
Oh yeah.
What's his name? He's also
I forget his name. I gotta look it up.
He's also whatever name, Timon from The Lion King, and
Oh yeah.
It could have been him, dude. But like,
it
it's
been
not.
him,
Yeah.
Nathan Lane.
Nathan Lane. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but there are some images from the film that are amazing. Like when he just really becomes Spider-Man, and there's this shot of him facing downwards as the skyline's coming up to him. It's just there's some really
Ripped off.
amazing.
That's a ripped off shot.
Oh, is it from where?
From Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, but
You're
still
right.
really
Good
cool
call.
looking.
Good call out. But you're right. That is.
I mean, that's
where
the
I have
one thing
seen
in
it
this
before.
entire movie, and I tried hard to find flaws in it. I was just like, everything else is extremely original. So that's like the one part I was like, that's from Ghost in the Shell. That's
Good call. You're right. But I still like it.
I do too.
I thought the uncle character, Prowler, was really well done. To be a bad guy, but to also feel some sympathy for him. The other thing that was top notch all the way through is the voice acting. They did a lot, where they, like when they were in the car scene, they actually had the actors there and they had them kind of sit in an arrangement as if they were in a car, and then just do like multiple takes until they got.
Did you watch the commentary?
You're going to get mad at me. You're going to do the same thing. I watched the first 20 minutes.
Oh my God. How do you do that?
Because I had to do
Because
other
you already
stuff
watched
and
the
I didn't
movie
make it.
4 times.
Because you have a life? Is that what you're saying, John?
Yeah, I swear to God, I only watched the first 20 minutes and it was good. I liked it and I wanted to watch more, but I didn't get time to finish it. So, but I really liked what it was fun because it was the 3 directors were sitting there talking. and they do this in interviews. I read up on at least one interview, and they just talk about how much fun this was and how like just happy they are to have been part of this. And so that's also pretty cool to hear about. And
did you get to the part where they were talking about how they directed, what their style was for this movie?
No, that was that further in.
It was in the first half at least, but they were just like, I don't know. They seemed like they were just. You probably heard they were just threw out compliments to everybody else working on the movie pretty much the entire time.
They did. They were just like happy to be like, oh, aren't they great? And they did it in a good way. I mean, in a way I liked. I thought, they were just happy to be working with the people they were working with, and just thought everybody did an amazing job and weren't like self-congratulating either.
Yeah, agreed.
So, I mean, this is a great movie. It certainly is. It's easily one of the best like action movies, even I think I've seen, as far as the way things are choreographed and the style of it. And the idea that the blend of humor and drama and action is just all very well done.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if I was a kid or like younger, this would be my favorite movie ever, like forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I would watch it and be like, favorite movie ever. And then for the next 40 years of my life, I'd be like, yeah, Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse. You guys ever seen that? It's the best movie ever made.
Shut up, Dad. Right? Movie sucks, Dad.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of special features in this movie, which is great. It's so well done that it's hard to see. I mean, this movie is kind of different from, say, like a Pixar, where you kind of assume quality and you get quality and you don't really think about it. But this movie is so dense with shit that it's hard not to think about how dense and hard it must have been to make. It doesn't come off as like a story that just you are there and watching, maybe like Inside Out or something like that, where it just is like, oh, this is how this had to be. Yeah, I don't know. This movie doesn't seem like that, and it's less like that than most other movies, if not all the movies we've seen so far. If that makes sense.
Try to say that again.
Okay,
because I got a little lost.
What I meant to say was that it seems like it has more. It's attempting to do more within the movie, while at the same time not being, I don't know, annoyingly
not showing you all the time,
not pretentious about it.
Right.
It does it naturally, but you notice it in a good way somehow.
Like there's so much attention to detail, and in terms of, or so much thought when each individual thing that they were doing, whether it was the colors or how things were sequenced at that. It was like painstakingly crafted, it seems.
And it moves so fast that there are things that I watched this 3 times. And there are things I couldn't even pick up on. Like there's little hints. There's like a half a second shot of Gwen backing up into Miles so that they bump into each other in the middle of the little lobby they have there in their school. The scene where he like eventually gets his hand stuck in her hair. Yeah. Did you notice that, John? Like it calls back to it later in the movie to show that she wanted to talk to him because she knew who he was.
Oh, that she was coming up to him.
But you noticed that?
I noticed that. I just noticed it on the second time watching it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, that's just, and it was like a half a second shot.
Yeah, she had been there on purpose.
Right. And she actually says, when he's like pulling his hair, she says like, just try and relax, which is what the Peter B. Parker tells him.
Right.
Because she knows he's sticking.
And also,
that's why she said Gwanda, right?
She said Gwanda, right? She didn't want to say Gwen, which is weird because how would he know, like he's not going to be able to use her name either way to figure out who she is.
Yeah. But she's
also wearing her ballerina slippers in that scene.
Oh, right.
That she wears during the Spider, her like Spider-Gwen outfit.
Right.
So there's a bunch of shit like that.
Yeah, there is. I mean, there was a moment where the spider was 42, right?
Yeah.
And then when he fell off of the buildings, the 4 and the 2 landed next to him. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so there's like a few of those things that they did.
Yeah. And you know what the 42 is?
No.
I think it's Jackie Robinson's baseball number.
Yeah, that's one thing they said. And then they also one other quip is like, or if you're a Douglas Adams fan, it's the answer to the question of life, the universe, and everything.
I mean, even if you pause the movie, they talked about how like they wanted every single freeze frame of every single shot to be printable picture or something, and we tried it, just like watching a random scene, just pausing it and looking at it and be like, would you put this on your wall? And every single one you're like, yeah, definitely. I'll put that on my wall. It looks great.
And so one thing they talked about in the interviews is like they don't use blur, which apparently nearly every movie does these days. And sometimes they would like half the frame rate, or like they would just show the same because they wanted it to be crisper, I guess. So they would be showing like 2 frames per frame. Or
2 of the same frame. So it's pretty much running like a stop motion video.
Right. So like half the frame rate, but because what they really wanted it was to be like very crisp and to have this sort of like comic book feel where it wasn't like things were all mushy or blurry. And even to the point where like when they try to show distance and stuff like that, they don't blur stuff. They just sort of change the color. They like do the like pixelated or not pixelated, but pointillated colors. As if it's like printing.
The hell is that?
I don't know what the word is. There's
Okay.
actually there's a word for
It's
it.
got to be it.
It's got to
It's
be
like
pointillated.
when you look at colors closely in like comics and stuff like that, you can see like points of color. And I forget what the term for that is.
Pointillated.
But they use that. They use like different colors to like show distance and focus rather than blurring things. And that was pretty cool too.
And they also do like the effect where if someone's in the foreground and they don't want you to look at that person, they double the image up and it kind of looks like it's an out of focus 3D
That's
movie
what I was
image.
seeing.
Yeah.
That's what I was seeing.
And they talk about that and they're like, it looks kind of weird, but the whole
It
point of
does
it
look
is
weird.
it focuses your eyes elsewhere and that's what they want to do. And that works pretty well. But then if you start watching it over and over again, you start noticing all these people in the foreground got out of a 3D movie or
vision.
something.
Yeah, it's double vision.
Yeah. But they do a lot of weird stuff that takes, I don't know. How did you guys feel watching this initially? I thought the slowed down frame rate and that doubling vision and just like the general animation style was so weird that it took me a little while to get used to it. But by the end of the first time, I was totally into it. And now
I kept wondering why it was there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It took me a while to adjust because I first was just wondering. At first, I was like, "What is it? Was this like a live action movie that was colored over? What the just I hadn't seen anything like this.
Yeah.
I think
thought
you're
it
right.
was a mistake.
Yeah.
So
No, it was on purpose. Totally on purpose.
Because there were movies for a while, like Waking Life or whatever, where basically they would shoot like realistic. They would just shoot real film or real movies, and then they would just color over them.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't know if it was a thing.
Scanner
but there was at least
Darkly?
one movie that did it.
Rotoscoping?
Yeah, Scanner Darkly did
They're
that
actually
too.
making another one. I just saw an announcement.
yeah,
this
he's
past
making
week.
another one.
Oh, really?
Let me look it up. It looked pretty good. You can keep talking. I'm going to look this up.
But yeah, I agree, Denny. I think it was an adjustment at first, but now that I am comfortable with it, it's also, that's part of what makes it so good is that it's very different.
Yeah. I got a bunch of trivia, guys. I don't know if you want to get into this now.
Sure.
Well, what else you got on the movie, Denny? I don't know. There's more for you
To rave about?
Yes.
No, you guys did a pretty good job of describing it.
I worry for Spider-Ham, I mean, if all of the sort of like jokes referring to his name refer to meat, basically like, he's Peter Porker. I don't know. I don't know that the topic of him being eaten and cooked cover comes up. I don't know.
I wonder what happens if you send that to like the UAE or something or one of those places. Do they watch that?
There was a bunch of
not.
deleted scenes where he like ate his uncle and he tasted delicious.
Oh God, really?
And there's like a whole short. There's a whole short film that comes with this. It's actually, if you watch the alternate universe version of this movie, which is pretty interesting. It starts with a short, which is like an old Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny cartoon type thing with Porky Pig, and he's like the entire adventure is he's trying to eat a hot dog, and he gets in trouble, and like it keeps all the bad guys stop him from eating a hot dog for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it's pretty silly. It's kind of weird. But yeah, there's an alternate universe version of this, John. Did you buy this or did you rent it?
Yeah, I bought it.
Do you have this alternate universe
Yeah,
version?
I do. I haven't watched it, but it's just full of all kinds of like, isn't there? It's even branching or something.
Well, it has a lot more. It has a lot of the ideas they threw out during the editing or like pre-production process, but it has storyboarded animation parts with like voice acting. Some of it is like actually like not the actual people that did the real roles in there, just doing filler dialogue, I guess.
Okay.
But it's really weird just to watch that and be like, it just shows you even more how movies like this don't just happen by accident. There's like a lot of really hard work that goes into it. Because even listening to like less good voice acting and the animation is just like hand drawn panels. There's like no comedic timing. The characters you lose the characters when you're watching it like that. And I think like that's part of the that you said the acting was really good. That's part of the characters are written really well and it's edited together really well where you feel like all these people like real people, which doesn't happen a lot in superhero movies. Like I don't feel like I knew any of the Avengers like personally.
Right.
They didn't seem like real people.
Yeah.
But Miles seems like a real person. His dad seems like a real person. His uncle seems like a real person.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, that's a really good basis, and then it looks kind of real. Like if you like blur your eyes a little bit, and they're walking around the city, you're like, this looks fucking real. It looks like a city. I'm not in a cartoon world. And then they start flying around the city.
Well, sure,
it's pretty good. But
it is.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, just the way they introduced things, the exposition scenes in this movie, I thought were way better than most exposition scenes in other movies.
Oh yeah, and they had fun with it. I think that they
were
knew
funny.
that they like were completely aware. I was like, yeah, we're going to do the exposition a lot in this movie, so let's have a good time.
Yeah.
There's one like during one of the interviews they said too there was like one scene that they just kept like reworking and thinking about, like it was one of the early scenes where Peter B. Parker and Miles are like, Miles is trying to convince Peter B. to help him, and so they're just walking on buildings as they do it. Do you know what scene I'm talking about? Where it's like he's like, "Are you trying? What are you doing?" And Miles,
and he
like,
kind of
sneaks out
he sneaks out of his room and he has like one shoe on because he's afraid he's not going to stick if he has his shoes on.
Yeah. So just even that, it's like they talk about how they worked hard because they're like, okay, we have to take our medicine here. We're gonna have to they're gonna have to talk a lot, but let's show how they're different. Like let's show how Peter B can easily walk on the walls and Miles can't yet, and we'll like just construct the scene in an interesting way, even though there has to be some exposition here. So they really thought carefully about that stuff.
Yeah, and it's not just fully exposition because it ends in like an emotional beat where the relationship develops.
Yeah,
you know, because he comes back to help him out.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
I love that one too. What are you doing? Trying to make you feel guilty. Is it working? Like, that was funny. That's like such a good kid thing to say.
Yeah.
You're right though. They did a good job of that, and so you didn't really notice it was exposition.
Yeah, and
there's so much to watch on screen that you get lost in it anyway.
You do. And it's crazy because like there are the scenes they said they got stuck on the most were those exposition scenes, because that's I think where a lot of action movies really kind of fall. Like I love the Mission Impossible movies, but I have no idea what goes on in any of those movies because those middle scenes between the action scenes are complete nonsense, and I don't care about any of the characters.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter for those movies. But this one like takes it an extra step and actually makes a cohesive and interesting storyline, while still having those pretty hilarious and good action stuff in between. But one of the scenes they focused on was the hardest one, was the burger eating scene where there was another very heavily dialogued scene where he was doing a lot of explaining. And I don't know, that one doesn't stick out as one of the better scenes, but it certainly doesn't stop the flow of the movie. And apparently during the making of it, it was stopping the flow of the movie, but they needed it. So it like had years of work into that one, which is weird for a 2-minute long scene.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it mattered that much, and it was good enough. Like, maybe they didn't have them eating the burger like that or something until the end, or where he eats his burger.
Oh yeah,
who knows?
I also liked. I'm just going to keep going through my likes here because that's all my notes are. How in the action scenes it would kind of pause in the middle of punches and individual frames to kind of have that action comic book feel to it. You know what I mean? It's like that would be the frame if this was a comic book, and you can kind of see
it feels
it.
like you're like about to turn the page or something, right? But you're like, and
it's just kind of filling in the gaps in between the panels of an actual comic book with like the motion in between them. Which if they didn't like pause the action like they did, it would just be wouldn't do that. I don't know.
Right. And then occasionally you'd have actual like comic writing in there. I mean, you'd have like they just did this. They did like panels of text, but super sparingly, which was really cool.
I liked it.
I mean, or like even like when his Spidey sense kicks in the first time,
it's like, look out.
Like, look out appears behind him. Yeah.
And like with the one where Aunt May, like she's getting her house trashed, and like the 4 panels around her, she just kind of looks up at each thing getting destroyed.
Right. She's just,
Yeah, they do a lot of really awesome stuff with that. What else is good? The bagel. Do you guys notice the bagel
that
text?
was funny. Yeah.
He got the bagel.
Yeah.
When it hit him in the head.
A bagel and
Did you see it when it hit him in the head? There was the word bagel when it hit him.
Is that what it said?
Yeah,
that's funny. Cool.
And that line was like brought up by one of the writers or animators rather, and he thought it would be like a joke. They called it a joke pitch. He brought it up because he thought it would be funny just to say it, but the people he pitched it to were like, "That's great, put it in."
Right.
Oh wow.
And that was the whole movie. Just them saying, "That's great, put it in."
Yep.
Everybody would come up to them. They were just like, "Cool idea, do it."
Yeah, and they're just great little scene. That whole sequence was really well done too. It was another great action sequence that had humor in it too. Or he's running down the hallway with the computer and the monitor. He's like, "Good news, you don't need the monitor."
Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything else for this movie in terms of my opinion, but I got a lot of trivia, you guys.
Fire the trivia machine.
The fast animation stuff is the hardest. They would have scenes where it'd be like sped up, fast forwarded. They can't, to animate that stuff, they can't just animate it fast forward. You got to animate it normally and then just fast forward it. So it's less like when you're planning a budget of a movie, I assume you probably have this 5 seconds is going to cost this much time or this much money. But then you have like animation is expensive, and for a 2-second shot, it costs the same as a 4-second shot.
Wow.
So just like that's expensive to do. They did a bunch of this
They
movie.
just had to do like twice as many frames, or
No, they had to animate it like they weren't going to speed it up, which is the same time consumption as like a 4-second long shot, but you use it for 2 seconds. That's very inefficient for your entire. Because you're paying by the hour, pretty much.
Right. They
trying
had
to get this thing done.
How many animators on this? They had
180.
Yeah, a lot.
Wow.
Which is the most Sony animation has ever had, but I'm not sure that means very much. And they said they think it's probably the largest animation team ever assembled for a movie.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what they said, but they said maybe. So I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know about the whole Disney. I thought we had one other film. We talked about the number of animators on some of the early Disney stuff, and if I remember, it was quite a large number.
Yeah, 180 is a pretty large number too, though. How do you
Seems
organize?
enormous.
Yeah, they all have to do the kind of the same style. How do you get 180 people to do that? It's crazy.
Oh, they must be. No, some of them must have different styles, right? They're only hired for one specific style. I don't know.
That's true. There was a bunch of different styles.
Like for specialized animators.
There was one cool part later in the commentary, John, for when you eventually watch it, where one of the guys pops in and says, like, all right, we have a hand drawn right there in the explosion scene when he's tied to the chair towards the end, when like Peter B tied him to the chair and he was stuck there, but then he uses like lightning power to get out of it.
Oh yeah.
When the chair is exploding for like a couple of frames, if you pause it right in the right point, it's just a hand drawn picture of him in the chair with like, it's just like blue and red hand drawn, just thrown in there. And it works really well because the rest of it's going crazy too, but it's kind of cool. Like you cannot notice it if you don't go really slow.
Pause it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, how about, I didn't even mention like the intro, the intro like sequence is like almost like epilepsy inducing.
Yeah.
I was worried at first. It was so like they just kept like,
all right,
flickering
Sam, we're
all
seeing
these
if you have
different
epilepsy
colors.
right now.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh God, this is going to hurt my eyes. I'm going to have a headache 5 minutes into this thing.
The music there was cool too. I felt like I was in the beginning of an EDM show or something.
Yeah, exactly. I thought this was going to be, I thought the strobe lights were going to come on and like I should have like dropped something to watch this movie, but yeah.
Did you got to the part with the smiling kid? Did they mention the smiling kid?
Yeah, that they hated him.
They hated him, but they thought it was
Is
funny.
that the kid in the school part?
Yeah, he's all over the movie, but he's like this little short kid. Yeah,
Oh, shit.
they hide him in
I didn't
different
notice
places.
this. Oh, wow. I didn't
And he's
notice
just
that.
this creepy little kid that smiles at
Oh,
Miles.
his smile is so weird, too.
Yeah. So like one of the guys thought it was really funny. He kept pointing it out, but everyone else was like, "There's a smiling guy again." They sounded
What
somewhat
the
annoyed.
fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, they all said, all the animators, I mean, these movies take so long to make that they all have to do things to keep themselves entertained, which is why there are so many Easter eggs in this movie. Like all the extra characters are based on animators and family members and things like that. Like the graffiti names are people's kids' names. A lot of the extra voice actors are people, in the movie. They made up Miles' reality is not our reality. I don't know if you noticed any of the things that should have existed in our reality, but they were slightly different. There was a scene where Peter B. Parker is coming into the galaxy or universe, and there's a bunch of movie posters behind him, and they're all slightly different.
Except Sony still, of course, happens to exist.
Well, yeah, obviously.
In this one, you got the Sony headphones prominently displayed there.
Yeah, product placement. Got to do it.
Smart.
Hey, it's okay.
The way they animated some of the action scenes, I assume you guys couldn't tell, but let's see. They do things that aren't natural to the characters, like they make arms stretch and they make like limbs stretch and they bend in weird ways. But they do it so quickly that it's just, it looks like a natural kind of movement, and they use it instead of the motion blur. Since they got rid of that, they needed something to show motion. So they would use exaggerated limbs and things like that. And if you pause during certain scenes, you can see like Miles's arm is like really oddly long. But if you watch you can't tell.
Cool.
So I don't even know how you animate
I didn't
to
notice it, but yeah. Like how you decide that's what you need to do to get the effect.
How do you know?
Want, right? That's,
It's crazy. They must have just like trial and error maybe.
But it was not noticeable.
No.
It's certainly not noticeable where I'm like, hey, that didn't look normal.
Right. Kirby dots. You know what Kirby dots are? It's kind of what you were talking about earlier, John.
I think that's what I was trying to express. Yeah. Like that was like where you see like the sort of color dots that sort of like.
So the color dots are not it. The black dots are the Kirby dots.
Oh, but they're like overlaid on. It gives the color. It sort of like then like gives you sort of a different kind of color look to it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they had the other ones, but for some reason, the people in the commentary call them Kirby dots. The internet calls them Kirby crackle for some reason.
Okay.
And it's after Jack Kirby, who was a comic book animator way back in the day, and he invented it just using black dots to represent cosmic energy. And it's been used a bunch since then, so they give him credit for it.
Like only cosmic energy?
Yeah, only cosmic energy. It started in a Silver Surfer comic book, I guess. Or a Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I like Silver Surfer.
Only cosmic energy, John. You better not be using those Kirby dots for other things.
Okay, so it was other dots than I'm thinking in terms of the color stuff.
Yes, but they were the same shape and stuff. But I'm pretty sure Kirby dots are only black because comic books used to, be black in whatever color newspaper is, off-white, gray.
Yep.
If you were to guess how long it took 180 animators to animate 1 second of this movie, I should have asked that question differently. But how long would you think it would take?
1 second?
Yeah.
I don't know. A week?
There you go. It is 1 week. I should have asked how many
Okay.
seconds can you make in a week? That might have been an easier or harder question to get.
Yeah.
But that's 4 times as long as other animation studios.
Hmm.
Pixar and the like.
They've got more of a process here. They're not. I
Right.
think with Pixar, it's all digital. I would assume, or the majority of it is all digital. Right?
It is, but to give Pixar credit, they do stuff like that hair technology and like Monsters Incorporated,
they do
and Brave,
stuff, but
and all that stuff.
It's all straight. It's all more tech, right? I think it's more. I don't know if they're doing anything that's by hand or anything where they're integrating the hand art with the digital art.
Well, they're certainly doing hand stuff behind the scenes, which is which counts
to sort of
in
like,
terms of the work.
Oh yeah, that's fair. It's like to sort of, especially like to kind of storyboard it or to give a sense of what should happen
and concept designs and like character designs and stuff like that.
That's true.
But I mean, if you're putting it in the movie, you're making it presentable. It's got to be more work at the very least.
Yeah.
But it's also because nothing else looks like this. Pixar has been building off the Toy Story engine. I don't even know if it's an engine, but like all the Pixar movies kind of look the same in a weird way, especially when compared to this one. They were making the movie as they were writing it. So a lot of the scenes were made and completed before they even knew what the characters were, what the final edit was going to be like, which is very, very strange, you would think, with a movie this kind of stakes.
Well, yeah, but also a movie that ends up seeming so well put together at the end of it.
And it seems like it's not one of those things where they're surprised that it was awesome. Everyone's just like, we had the best people and everyone was trying their hardest. So it was good.
So you're bound to have something good come out of it.
And a lot of it, I think, came from the fact that they were very, positively reinforcing other people's ideas. People didn't feel like a cog in a machine, I guess. I don't know how other movies work where people might not work as hard because they're just like, well, it's just another stupid Avengers movie. This one, they were just taking everyone's ideas and doing weird things, so people got excited about it during the process.
Oh, nice. Collaborative.
Yes.
Rather than like told what to do.
Yeah. We've learned about how there are fake cameras in digital movies before. They use the fake cameras for the scene where everyone's glitching. They would film using like the I don't know what you call it, in software camera from 7 different angles on each one of the characters that was glitching. And then they wrote like an algorithm to skip between in different little slices the angles of their body. Does that make any sense?
Kinda.
Is that hard to understand? John, do you get it?
I'm sorry. I was looking. So I was browsing.
He wasn't listening. He wasn't listening.
I finally found out that these are Ben-Day dots. Those are the dots that sort of use the color stuff. That
Guy's doing research over there, Denny.
Anyway,
He's doing some reading.
Sorry.
Some light reading.
So you were talking about digital cameras. I could make a half-assed guess and talk, but I missed what you were saying in terms of how they did it when they were glitching.
No, I actually purposely picked a very boring piece of trivia just so I could check to see if you were listening.
Oh, damn it.
Look at you, John.
Gotcha.
Failing.
I have failed.
But you know what those are now.
But you're saying that they were they using a different camera to sort of like different cameras to simulate that?
So imagine,
Some
like
algorithm.
you have to imagine when they're doing these movies, they build a 3D scene and then they have a camera inside the scene. They move around, right? So they pretty much inserted 7 cameras instead of just having the one.
Well, I was going to say, when you actually, to some extent, you don't, your scenes exist in terms of the cameras themselves. Like in a 3D environment, like the cameras also make the scene because the camera decides how it's projected and how it looks.
Right.
So you don't necessarily have a scene that exists independent of cameras, but then it's very easy to then have like multiple cameras all around because they're just then deciding how to like, you think of cameras are like eyes or something like that. Like they sort of like, you don't have stuff that exists outside us or you do, but what you see is like the combination of the two things.
I'm very lost.
Sorry, go on.
Cameras are like eyes, the combination of that.
Oh, God.
confused.
I don't
And there's
know.
Ben-Day dots
Anyway,
and
I was just
fucking
feeling bad that I wasn't listening and
algorithms
I'm trying to
and
contribute something
lights.
meaningful.
I mean, as long as you
and
feel
it's
bad, that's
probably-
all I was going for.
All right.
So,
Well, that's good. All you want is my unhappiness.
yes.
Right.
Yes.
Carry on.
Yeah.
Carry on, Denny.
Yeah.
There was a lot of foreshadowing to the bad guys in this movie. Did you guys notice any of it?
Huh?
No. Did you notice
Foreshadowing. What do you mean?
the Dr. Octopus lady had octagonal eyeglasses, octagonal light fixtures, octagonal desks?
Nice.
There's a lot of octagons.
You saw her name tag too, but it was purposely obscured in the little video that she was in there in the class.
Oh, I missed that.
You saw Doc and there was an O. The commentators were giggling about that. Like, hey, look, you see your name tag.
Also for the Prowler, when Miles is over his house earlier, he has a picture of a panther that says Prowler underneath it, and he's wearing a jujitsu or something like some kind of Thai karate shirt that has a picture of a jaguar on it.
There you go.
So
everything's happening so fast. There's no way you're going to pick out that stuff.
Did you notice the Spider-Man on television when he was in the uncle's apartment?
I did not notice. I know, but it's Donald Glover, isn't it?
Well, it's an animated version of a scene from Community where Donald Glover's character wears a Spider-Man outfit.
No way.
Which is insane.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So meta.
And they were already making the movie when they saw that on TV. And they're like, that's putting it in. And when they saw
putting that in there.
Yeah. When they saw Donald Glover's portrayal of Spider-Man from that episode and Miles, the guy who plays the voice of Miles in this was similar, they're like, we're on the right track. This is a good thing. If Donald Glover does it, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
Well, I think too. And he was a big proponent of getting a non-white Spider-Man up there. So apparently they also were saying that that was also kind of a shout out to him too.
Nice. There was a part in the commentary where I think Peter B. Parker was stretching outside Doc Ock's base without any shoes on. He was getting ready to run in there. And during the screenings, they didn't render the toes on him. So they would screen the movie and the toes wouldn't be there for weeks on end. And so one of the producers had to go up to the animators and be like, you guys are going to put toes on him, right? It's going to be a thing. You're not just going to forget about the toes, right? I've been sitting here for a month and a half watching this guy without any toes. I'm a little worried that nobody's on this.
Wow. What'd they say? We're putting toes in?
They're like, we're putting toes in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or maybe they said that and then they ran home. They're like, holy shit, we almost left toes
there's
out.
no toes. How did you guys not see the toes? This guy's fucking...
I thought it was Jim. I thought Jim was
This
on
guy's
the toes.
entry-level animator over here. He's seeing the toes. What's going on?
Draw toes for Spider-Man. He's in a onesie the whole time.
We went to the meeting. Frank was a little hungover. We gave him the responsibility. He forgot about it, and the toes haven't been there for 2.5 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The anime character, the little girl with the robot, they rendered her in 3D like everybody else, but then painted over her to give her the anime style. So they animated her twice.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy. A lot of the scenes. So even, again, this is all a digital world, but they make things up to make it easier for people who make movies to understand. There's natural lighting in these shots and studio lighting in these shots. They do the same thing that movies do. So there's less of a difference and we accept them more, I guess. But in this movie,
it's what you're used to seeing.
Yeah, we're used to seeing it. Yeah. In this movie, they shut off the studio lights, quote unquote, for a lot of the scenes to get a more naturalistic light feel, which is all the city shots. That's part of the reason it looked so realistic. They were planning on cutting down a lot of the emotional scenes before they recorded the voice acting, but they said the character development and the acting was so good that they had to keep them in. They were planning on having this be an hour-and-a-half long movie.
Oh,
it ended up being almost 2 hours because the scenes.
I'm glad they did that. Yeah.
It has. Can you imagine though if the acting wasn't as good and the animation wasn't as expressive?
Right.
Those scenes might suck.
Oh yeah.
True.
So it's pretty cool how they're just realizing as they're making it what they can lean on and what's good.
And even small things like even Lily Tomlin's portrayal of Aunt May as being this sort of tough woman who's lost her nephew but is still helping these other. I mean, all of the characters were just so well done. It's just I don't know. Yeah.
It's hard to find anything bad to say about this movie.
Even when Doc Ock storms into it's just these small things. At one point, Doc Ock says, my friends call me Liv, but my enemies call me Doc Ock. And then she breaks into Aunt May's house, and Aunt May's like, oh, great. It's Liv.
Yeah, right.
I missed that. God damn, I got to watch this movie again.
Yeah, I was wondering why she said it like that. How did she know? But she probably knew from previous experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
Liv.
So does Spider-Man not kill people? What's the deal with Spider-Man?
He just gives them up, I think. Doesn't he just put
to the cops?
Batman thing too, kind of. Yeah, exactly.
But there's no Arkham Asylum in his world, right? So they just go to regular prison?
Yeah, probably.
So
I don't think that's
where they can get back out again or what?
But yeah, Spider-Man doesn't kill people. Just like Batman doesn't really.
Batman's kill people, I thought.
Well, he doesn't go out to actually You know,
I thought he murdered a street punk in the Batman Returns movie. Didn't he shoot him with a gun?
that was Spider-Man in Batman Returns.
No. Batman does it. You said Batman and Spider-Man don't kill people.
Oh no, Batman gets all dark and angry and weird in some of these movies later. So that's Batman's thing.
Okay.
But yeah.
So if he had caught Kingpin, so the police are going to have Kingpin, but the guy's like the size of 50 men and probably can smash through prison bars.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do with him?
He'll go to a special holding facility that he'll eventually escape from in time for the sequel.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Excellent.
Duh.
And you would think
I liked his character too. I wish we could spend more time with him because he seemed pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I just like how they did that because they made him really like, he was just like very simply spoken. You'd be like, kill that guy. Just sort of like that would be all he'd say.
That's what the last action scene's for, John.
Yeah.
Gives his whole family backstory, his little motivation for being evil.
Yeah.
He wasn't such a
I know,
prick,
it's a
they'd
long
still be
one.
alive.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we already get exactly. It's a bit of a repetition because we already get that scene where we get to relive the moment where he's fighting Spider-Man in their house or somewhere, and the family is like, "We're leaving you," and so that's even before you see that sort of all the flashbacks in the subway during the final action.
But you don't actually see him react to it like you do in the subway. He gets all emotional in the subway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see some emotion in the house, I think, too, where he's like, "Hey, wait, I'm not that guy," or something. I don't know what he says.
Sounds right.
Checks out.
Oh wait, you know me. That's what he says. You know me.
You know me. I'm the square man. I'm 50 times the size of other people. You know me. This movie almost broke their computers. They have the best computers in the world because they're, an animation company. And this movie almost broke the computers because there was so much shit in the project, I guess.
Holy shit, huh?
So
Yeah.
he said towards the end of the commentary that here's a little piece of advice for aspiring people in the movie industry is if you're making a movie, save your crazy ideas for last and make them super important to the movie so the studio has to pay them when there's a deadline. So the scene where they're doing like the train, like they're fighting in the train, like that whole thing where all the buildings are coming out and they're fighting in like that. I mean, it works really well because they did a really good job. But on paper, that could sound a little crazy and expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But they're like, this is the only idea we have. This is the end of the movie. So you have to let us do it. Otherwise, we're not going to make the deadline. So they kind of, I don't know if that's like good to do, if that's part of business in the movie industry.
I think it's part of business.
Really? That
Yeah.
seems a little shady,
Yeah.
but at the same time, sometimes executives sound like they're assholes too.
Well, what are we
so-
talking about here, right? We got some studio execs that want to make some money and do some things for the company, and then you got the production that wants to do their creativity, and then there's a balancing act. So
Yeah.
I
So they're
think
just playing the
it's,
game.
yeah.
They're playing the game.
They play the game. That's right. I mean, it happens all the time. Yeah.
Seems like they know how to do it too.
Now they just make a name for it. It's called an overage, and then they deal with it later.
Once the movie starts making tons of money, everyone forgets about it probably.
Yeah, and then it all evens out, and who gives a shit?
Yeah.
And then they try to stay on budget next time, and the budget's a budget. It's not a hard and fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you notice that when they started jumping in the end, whenever one of the Spider-Man went back into the universe, the buildings that they fell into like changed to their like version of the world, I
To
guess.
their version?
Oh, did they? No, I didn't
I
quite
noticed
notice.
that.
And
Yeah.
once they all went in, the train they were fighting in would flicker between all the different versions. There'd be like the Noir Man version of the train and like the cartoon version and stuff.
Nice.
A lot of
Yeah, I
shit
didn't
going
catch it.
on.
There is. It's a lot of, it's very cool how they keep track of that stuff. Like, hey, let's put that back in.
Yeah. And the thing, even when, so this was the shoulder thing, and then that's how he gets
Yeah.
Kingpin. That was an accident.
Right.
Or not an accident.
was
Like,
it? Really?
that wasn't one of the ones they had planned to call back. They didn't actually plan on that scene having a callback. They just thought it was funny. But one of the animators, again, came up and was like, how about we use this as how he, kills Kingpin
Right.
and brings
I
him down.
finished it off. Yeah.
So they're like, that's a great idea. Let's do it.
It was great.
Such
it was
a cool,
great. Yeah.
such a cool gig. Right?
Yeah. If you fall into the right project, I think, right?
If
I
you
mean,
fall in the right project and you make it finally, life is pretty cool, I have
Yeah.
to say.
and these guys
Stressful.
are talented, at least.
Stressful as fuck.
I would
but-
imagine
Holy,
so.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I can't imagine. I wonder what hours they were working on this one.
Oh, I'm sure
Yeah.
they put in a ton of
Yeah.
hours.
I think that's all I got, guys.
Nice.
Ooh.
Glad we watched it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you glad it is now in the top 250?
Right
Yeah,
where
it-
it should be.
It went right up there. It's on streaming on Netflix now by the time this comes out.
Maybe June
Maybe?
26th.
Yeah, I
June
didn't see it.
26th,
It's not,
so it'll be close.
it's not in there yet.
Yeah,
Right.
so I think when this episode comes out, it'll come out on the Wednesday. This is going to come out Monday, and then Wednesday you can watch this for free if you have
Well,
Netflix or someone
ish.
else's Netflix password.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's the way to put it. Yep.
Cool. Well, next week, guys,
Back to
we're
work.
jumping back into it. Jumping back into
to
it hard.
work.
This movie's from 1949.
Shit.
Easy.
Oh, fuck.
It is called The Third Man. It's directed by Carol Reed. The synopsis is pulp novelist Holly Martins travels to shadowy post-war Vienna only to find himself investigating the mysterious death of an old friend, Harry Lime.
Oh, God.
Oh, noir, dude. Real noir, not Nicolas Cage
sick?
noir.
Why couldn't I get sick that week? Sorry, guys. Sick.
Can't do it. Gonna be downer. All right.
It should be interesting, I guess.
Could be good. It's supposed to be
It'll
classic.
be good. I'll try and go into it thinking it's good.
Yes. It's always good to do that, maybe. You guys have anything else on this one?
No.
No.
Timmy?
Nah, Timmy's sick. He's dead.
Oh, he's dead.
Oh.
Yeah, Timmy's dead.
Oh, God.
There he is.
I mean, figuratively.
I was going to say, if the bonus episode for Spider-Man is the first episode without Timmy piping up, that'd be weird.
There'd have to be a new Timmy to come and replace him, though.
Yeah,
just
I
like
don't know.
Spider-Man.
Timmy
the
needs
world
NyQuil.
needs a Timmy.
Timmy Pig. Pig Timmy, something like that.
Timmy Pig. Timmy needs NyQuil.
We'll do it.
put
Yeah,
Timmy
feel
to bed.
better, TC. And
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for listening. Go to our website, everyone who is listening. Or what is our website? I forget.
Mission250filmcast.com.
Yep.
We are on Facebook and Twitter. We're on all your podcast apps. Please like and subscribe. And thank you for listening. And I hope that Marvel does more of these movies.
Yeah.
Oh, they're coming. There's a sequel, and this
To this one?
It's Sony. There's a sequel coming.
Nice.
And there's a spinoff with Spider-Ham, I think.
Oh, wow.
There's
a
also
movie, an entire movie?
Yeah, there's Spider-Woman in the works, which also
That'll
deals
be good.
with the a number of the female Spider women.
Oh, we're not even close to the end of the superhero train, are we? Jesus.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh God.
No, it's never going to end. What do you mean?
It's going to end eventually. It's gotta.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. It's a money maker.
It's doing really well. I mean,
Yeah.
if they keep trying to figure out how to reinvent it and how to take different angles, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like Deadpool.
Every time I get
came
sick of
out
it, I'm just
and-
like, oh, this new one's good. Shit. All right.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's the end of it.
So-
That's how it goes.
I think
They
they can
figured it
probably
out.
tell when they see the trajectory of cash starting to taper off. They're like, all right, guys, we need to inject some new life into the shit. What are we
Yep.
going to do? Hire a bunch
Yep.
of creatives, let them do whatever they want, give them $100 million, see what happens.
Right. And just prepare for the overages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll just have Avengers eat it because it's going to make $3 billion.
Well, yeah, I
Fine.
always imagine too that there's studio people are sitting there all right, we're going to give them a
Oh,
million.
wait, this isn't Marvel,
but we
though,
have
is it?
$3 million. Well, they're
No,
involved.
it's Sony.
They are
but
involved?
Marvel's,
yeah, they had the Marvel opening at the beginning.
Did they?
Yeah.
So Sony, well, Marvel's owned by Disney. Sony is not owned by Disney. So how did this work?
But I don't know. They must have. It's probably a co-pro.
GoPro.
Yeah, co-production.
Oh.
So they can get the money up without having to
Yeah.
screw over each studio if it
Yeah.
fails.
So they're both raking it in. That's good.
Yeah, because I did see the Marvel opening in the beginning,
Who owns
right after
Looney
the Sony
Tunes?
and Columbia one.
Who owns Warner Brothers? Is that
Warner
Disney?
Brothers.
Or is that it's Time Warner, I guess. Different
Is it?
Not yet.
different than Disney. Are they going to go into
Who
business
cares? It's all Viacom, probably, right? Who cares?
together?
Who knows? Doesn't matter. As long as they keep making good shit, we're fine.
We'll keep consuming it if it's good.
Yep.
Yep. All right, dudes. Next week, we'll
All
go
right.
back into the old stuff.
Back to the regular universe.
Back to the grind.
Shit.
Yes. All right. Later, guys.
Later.
All right. See you next week.